All right, everyone. We're going to welcome y'all into the first episode of Beyond the Rack. My name is Joe Ryan, and this is a co-host, Alan Bryant, otherwise known as AB.
What's happening, y'all?
This is our first episode of this, and this is something we've kind of thought into existence over the past 8 months. It's been a long road, but between both our jobs as high school strength coaches, teachers, husbands, fathers, we are able to finally get this off the ground and kind of running a little bit. Um, Alan, you want to go ahead and tell them, where this kind of started at, man? Like where this in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, the last time I remember, man, we were in that pool, dude. We talked about doing a podcast and basically bringing our phone conversations, between strength coaches, life, wives, weights, kids, everything. So, man, welcome out. Joe, tell
Definitely,
me
man.
about yourself, man. Where you from? Where you been? What you doing?
Well, right now I'm currently at my house in Santa Maria, Louisiana, but kind of lived all over the world. I was born in Germany to a military family. We moved around a lot: Germany, Texas, Oklahoma. Lived in Kentucky for a little while. Had a lot of family everywhere. Southeast Texas, the Beaumont area, which coincidentally, I think that's where you're from, right?
409, born and bred, baby.
Yep. So family from the Beaumont area. Other part of my family's from Tennessee, Ohio. So we kind of moved around a lot. Ended up settling in Denham Springs, Louisiana, where I finished out high school. From there, kind of had a little lull in life, but ended up at the University of Arkansas Monticello playing football. Came back home and GA'd for a little bit at Arkansas Monticello after I got done playing. Came back home, accepted a job at a small 1A school in Donaldsonville, Louisiana, actually where I met my wife at. And from there, took a job at my alma mater, Denham Springs, and I've been at my alma mater ever since. So that was 2017.
Awesome.
What about you?
Man, I'm born and bred in the 409, like we said, dude. I was born in Orange, Texas, and moved around a bunch, man. We moved to DeQuincy, Louisiana, DeRidder, Louisiana, back to Lufkin, Texas, back to Beaumont, Texas, where I went to from fourth grade on. Graduated from Westbrook High School. Uh, Played for the Westbrook High School Bruins. Went on to play football at McNeese. I was a walk on. Um, Fell in love with the weight room. I sure as hell couldn't play football very well, but I could lift a lot of weights. So that's kind of where my coaching career started. I was a student assistant. After I graduated, while I was already student coaching, briefly, it was about 1 or 2 months, and then I ended up having to stick with the high school that had hired me. So because I was going to get a job there, and just love coaching football, but the weight room has always been a passion for me. Um, it was at Sulphur High School till about 2009 before I went to be a assistant strength coach at McNeese State, where is where I was alma mater from. Uh, was there for about 4 years. Left, went into the private sector. Was a strength coach at the MMA gym. Back into coaching, at a local high school at Sam Houston High School. Left for about 8 or 9 months. Went into sales. Needed a break. Still coached a little bit. Went back into full-time coaching, and then now I'm at Lake Arthur High School. I'm the head powerlifting coach, football strength coach. I work with baseball, strength with the baseball team, basketball in the summertime, track. So we kind of do it all at 2A level. I've been at two 5A high schools and a college, and I'm in love with the 2A level. I like to do everything, man, and that serves me well there.
Yeah, man. I know exactly what you mean. Being at the 1A level at one point, it's kind of do it all. When I was at the 1A level, I was a strength coach for most all sports on campus, both male and female. I was the head boys and girls powerlifting coach. I did track for a few years, football coach, where I coached D line, O line, running backs, everything in between, and even coached volleyball for a game. I'm 1-0 as a volleyball coach. So after that, I kind of,
Big winning, baby.
yeah, I kind of set it down after that. One of my mentors kind of, she, she was unable to attend a game due to sickness, and I got the opportunity to coach a game and kind of be that person. And basically it was hustle, communicate, let's go. Didn't know anything about the sport, but being at that small level of a school, I feel like made me into the coach I am today. You got to get creative. You got, especially in the game of football, and even in the weight room, you got to get real creative. Iron Man ball. We had welded together racks where it was one height. It was not, so as dangerous as it may have seemed, sometimes we had to get bumper plates to stand on to get weight off and do different things. And, it made me a better coach. And then at the same time, looking back on it, it's maybe some of the stuff I did was dumb now, but
absolutely.
From the ages of 22 to 25, it definitely made me who I am at 33 years old.
Absolutely. Well, you can always look back at your workouts and what you did from when you were a first time coach. I found a binder of them, and man, I don't know what was wrong with me. I must have been drinking a lot then.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it's like Zach Detat says, man. You assess, you don't guess. The older you get as a coach, man, you form relationships first, and discipline comes next.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Once they know you love them, man, they'll beat down the walls for you and ask for another sledgehammer.
Well, yeah, I mean, and talking about relationships, a lot of those kids, and here's just an example for you. My first year there at that school in Donaldsonville, kid I coached is now a coach at the same school and has invited me to weddings. We talk almost every day. A lot of those kids that I wasn't that much older than them. I was only about 5 years older than them at that time. I was a kid in charge of kids, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And being able to see them grow up, starting their families, having kids of their own is just, everybody always complains in this business about money, but those are the paychecks. The paychecks seeing, these kids grow up that you coached and become young men and women and into adults, and it's just awesome to see.
Absolutely, man. When you see the kids that you coached back in the day, and they still call you coach, that's why you do it. And even now, I'll get picture comments on Facebook from our meets. We brought back powerlifting in Lake Arthur, and a very proud tradition. The program, won a few state championships back in the early 2000s, and it's the parents will say, man, it's this smile that we love the most. I said, well, that's why we coach,
right?
Because that kid figured out that he or she could do something that they didn't think that they could do.
No, absolutely. And just talking to the sport of powerlifting, I guess we'll kind of start here. It's a pretty unique sport. I know us being in the state of Louisiana, we're one of the leading states for high school powerlifting. It's kind of us, Texas, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania are the ones who, Mississippi is up there, but the ones who kind of lead the charge on high school powerlifting. Me personally, maybe I might be biased, but I do think we have one of, if not the best of the high school organizations in the state or in the United States.
Absolutely, man. I've told you this before. I think we put out one of the best products. I'm not going to say we put out the best product. That'll spark the comment section up. But I think we put out one of the best products in the country. And our results speak for themselves. Our kids are putting up numbers in the state, and you can watch the videos, and they're good, solid, clean lifts. So it's something to really be proud of. And I'm just excited to be part of the group that's moving and shaking things in the sport of powerlifting.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've had a ton of great, not only powerlifters come from this state, but coaches through powerlifting come to this state. The father of powerlifting in the state of Louisiana, Dr. Billy Jack Talton, Louisiana Tech legend, North Louisiana legend, still a legend in our sport to this day. There's just a ton. I mean, you can name them from top to bottom. So definitely a rich tradition in the state. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. Did you always want to be a coach?
Ooh, that's a tough one, Joe. I mean, I don't know how much I'm good at besides coaching, waiting tables, and cutting grass. So, like, I've done a lot, man. I tried my hands in sales, and I didn't like that too much. Something was always calling me back into the weight room and on the football field, and I talk a lot about that, a lot about the weight room. But man, I love coaching ball. I do. I love getting on the grass, and now like we said at the 2A level, 1-2A level, you coach everything. I'm coaching the offense and the defensive line. We call ourselves the Trench Kings, and the Big Nasties, and it's a fun challenge for me, and it's a headache sometimes. But I don't think that I would like it any other way besides being the tip of the spear and being the curtain, at the front of the defense. We sell to the big guys up front that if the linebackers aren't making tackles, we ain't doing our jobs.
Right.
And if the backs aren't gaining 2 to 4 a carry, we're not doing our jobs.
Right.
And it all comes back to the weight room. But I mean, circling back to waiting tables, there is nothing like being in a 90-minute slam in the weeds, and so that teaches you how to handle pressure situations. It teaches you to stay calm, and so I can think back to third quarter, and it's fourth and whatever inside the 5, and what are you going to call? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with your big guys? Are you going to call a stunt? Are you going to play? Are you going to just have them play base defense? So I think everything is reciprocal. I think everything comes back, and it teaches you how to handle situations and be mentally tough, and do your job better. But yeah, man, like long answer to a short question. I always want to be a coach. I mean, I don't know what else I'd do.
Yeah.
If I'm ever not in a high school setting, which I've made a decision that I really like where I'm at, and I don't know where else I want to be because I fit in at that school. I've talked to you, we talk on the phone all the time, and I don't know like where else where I could fit in as a coach, and if I wasn't coaching, or I'd probably be personal trainer or something in my garage. Somebody's getting coached somewhere.
Right.
That's just me. It's hard to not.
But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm not. We know each other well enough by now. You have a family history of teachers and educators, and
oh yeah, man. My mom is almost 50 years deep. And she's still at the high school that I went to, and my dad was, he was 40 years in it, and they weren't coaches, but my dad was a hell of a band director that ran his band programs like a football team, and he ended up being the director of fine arts, and my mom was a director of special ed, and it's hard to not be in that education arena. I might not be in the classroom. I might be sitting in the gym with, and teaching middle school kids how to play pickleball and volleyball and badminton, the first part of my day. But, like I said, don't know where else I would be doing. What about you? Y'all got any coaches or teachers in your lineage?
My sister's a teacher with me at the same high school. That's about it. Like I said, my family is a military family. My dad was in the military. My mom worked in the service industry. She was kind of worked her way up from the bottom to management, to upper management at Jason's Deli.
Love me some Jason's Deli.
Which obviously you know about.
Solid bar, man.
got it started in Beaumont, Texas. So
yeah, man. I went to high school with the girl whose dad was the original owner.
Yeah, well, my mom and grandma used to babysit.
Yeah.
For them. So that's kind of how they got started. So, my sister and myself, we were the first college graduates within our immediate family, as far as mom, dad, siblings, all that. This isn't what I was going to do. I say that when I was in high school, we used to do a thing at my school called a senior project. And I did my senior project over local strength coach here in Baton Rouge area, Matt Bruce, and his career. That's when he was getting ready for the Beijing Olympics. And, I don't mean to call him out as far as our quote unquote age difference, because we are friends to this day. But I did my senior project over him and kind of was, hey, this is what I want to do with my life. This is I want to get people to this point. And he was trained under legendary strength coach Gail Hatch. So I kind of lost my way in that path. When I got to college, I got my degree in criminal justice, and all through college, my dad was overseas, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, different areas. But it was always, man, you'd be a really good coach. You'd be a really good coach.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of to me like, no, I want to be like the SWAT guy. They're like, hey, man, go run through the wall or go run through that door and break it down. Like, that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when my career ended as a player, I got the opportunity to get into the weight room with developmental or red shirt workouts at Arkansas Monticello, and kind of got my start there with that. And it basically came back full circle. The thing that I did my senior project over 4 years, and kind of getting away from it, got back to it at the very end.
Yeah.
So, I guess long story short, like you said, my sister and I are both in education. Up until this year, we actually taught in the same hallway at the same school we went to school at.
Please tell me y'all gave each other all kind of crap all day.
No, man, just busy. I mean, she's definitely a in classroom teacher, way better than I am.
Yeah. That's my mother.
Yeah. Way better than I am. And, not to say that, because, I mean, this, and I guess we'll kind of educate our listeners on this. Being in the weight room, you're constantly teaching. It's not just, hey, coach is in the weight room and they're just lifting weights.
Oh God, yeah, we're not just yelling and writing stuff on the board with markers, man.
Oh, I mean,
we're teaching.
Have you ever tried to teach a 14-year-old kid the proper way to RDL?
It's one of the hardest moves in the weight room to teach.
I think so too. I honestly think so.
I don't know if you remember that video that I sent you, and I wish I knew exactly how to put it up on the screen, but with the foam rollers, holding the weights in front of the foam rollers, putting their forearms on the their foam rollers and rolling it down to teach that hinge, man. That's one of the hardest things you ever teach a middle school or a high school kid, just to hinge their hips.
Sorry, I looked distracted. Legendary powerlifter and coach Wade Hooper just texted me and wants the link to the podcast, so I got to send it to him.
The legend. Yep. If only we could get Kirk Laverne.
Oh, I know. So, yeah, man, it's hard to teach. It's, and it's not your normal classroom setting, right? Like I have, just in my varsity football hour is right at 80 kids, and it's, you got to stay safe. You got to manage the room. You got to make sure everybody's constantly working. You got to make sure they're proper technique. You got to make sure they're doing the proper weight. And you got to have a lot of trust in 15 to 18-year-old kids that they're going to do the right thing all the time. And it's a lot of, I don't want to call it pressure, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of responsibility. But I think, like, getting back to the mental toughness part you were talking about earlier about waiting tables, being in the weight room, going out there and coaching up running backs or O-line or D-line or whatever it is, it makes you better at that, being 100%. In that weight room.
100%. Yeah, man. And, as a strength coach, as well as I do, you better have about 100 different personalities. You better be Jekyll and Hyde, or you're going to get stuck. And one kid can handle a hard, aggressive conversation, and the next kid, you got to pull him inside, or her. And speaking of that, you cannot coach a female athlete like you do most male athletes. They got to trust you first.
Oh yeah, and I've always said this, especially at this age, female athletes listen far better and far more attentiveness than male athletes because of the same. We were both in these shoes. A 16-year-old male knows everything in the weight room that they need to know via YouTube, via
IG,
Instagram
TikTok,
Reels. Yes, they
Snap,
know
all of
everything.
it, dude. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yo, well, just
and
because you pay
and
for it
not
means it's better, right?
and that's not to say that the females don't. It's just until recently, and I say recently, the past 10 years, it wasn't a huge emphasis on female sports to get in the weight room, which
Yeah.
I think is a total crock because they can be just as good as any male. I mean, we have at my school, I do a 225 clean board for football,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of our only important metric that we display. And, it's kind of a badge of honor to get on there. Well, the more I started working with our female sports, I wanted to do something for them. And I guess talking back about Matt Bruce, I asked his opinion, what do you think is that metric that would be equivalent for female 225? And the number ended up being 145. Well,
Mm-hmm.
just since August, and I know it's kind of slow, but some sports are just so crazy and getting their timing down. We got 3 girls on our 145 clean board through 3 sports, and one of them meets even all the way up to 165-pound clean, which, I mean, to me, that's pretty dang good. But we have a lot in that 125 to 140 range.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I'm a full believer in. I have a daughter, and she lifts competitively through Power to Meets. Funny, I mean, this is kind of how this started. Everyone is we brought our kids to a Power to Meet in Austin, Texas, and
Yeah.
Alan's family and my family stayed in the same house together while our kids lifted, and so both our kids lift competitively. But she, outside of being my kid and not wanting to listen, which is the same as her room, is she tends to grasp onto it more and doesn't buck as much because she doesn't see the professional athlete all the time. Like, oh, well, look at them. They're doing this with these goggles on this, yoga block on this, on that, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I just, it tends to be a breath of fresh air with some of those sports. Like I freaking love working with our girls basketball, softball, and track teams because they just, once they really get that buy-in, they're just boom, 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 boom.
It's on.
We're going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
my girls have absolutely have locked in, because I got kids that we don't have as many sports as the 5A schools, and our kids are wanting volleyball and golf and tennis, and we have swim, and we've briefly had some golfers, but now we've got something that these girls can latch on to. And when I say all this, our guys in our weight room absolutely get after it. I told you that the last couple of days, man. My 8-hour football baseball group has been crushing weights, and it's to the point where we're going to have to buy new racks, because the racks that we have are going to need to be upgraded to be able to handle more iron. We put it on there.
right.
And we could talk for hours and hours about how it's not all about a record board in a high school weight room, but sometimes those kids need to see some weights that they've done. But my girls, have gone from showing up right on time. If we start at 3:30, they're walking in the door at 3:28 and 3:29, which I'm constantly telling them, hey, 10 minutes early is right on time.
Right.
So now they're waiting for me to get off the field from middle school football practice.
Right.
Their practice starts at girls powerlifting starts at 4:00. They're in the building at 3:15. They just want to get in there, But they also know too that they can come in, get a snack, foam roll, be together, turn the juice box on, which is what I call the stereo, play their own music, get ready to go, and then they're excited to go. One of the first groups I've coached in a while that I don't have to cheerlead them. They cheerlead themselves and they lead by example. But also too the girls powerlifting team at Lake Arthur back in the early 2000s won a few state championships, and so the mamas and the families, they're excited about this, and the girls have something that they can bond with their mothers and with their aunts and their cousins over. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So when we're talking about this, I know you talked about, getting after it and um, having to buy new racks and, do different things and kind of changing that weight room culture. Cause you haven't even made your first full year yet, have you?
No,
At
I'm
that,
I'm
at that school,
officially I'm approaching a full year.
coaching a full year.
Yeah.
What,
So
It's just, I guess, kind of a two-part question for you is what comes first, instilling how to do things or instilling your culture at a new school?
I think culture.
Culture.
I think culture takes care of discipline, but I think they also work hand in hand. You know, at the older I get as a coach, the more I try to form that relationship first. I took that from Louis Corrales when I interned from him at UL. Can't be cannot be disciplined until the kids know there's love, you know. And so probably, man, my first 3 to 5 weeks I spent, handshaking and hugging and hey man, I'm glad to have you. I can't wait to train you. I want to make you a monster. Hey, we're gonna have power at the next year. Hey, there's gonna be a way, and there's gonna be a way of work around here, and it takes time, just to get your way of thinking going, because they were doing a great job in the weight room before. Casey Robinson was doing a hell of a job in the weight room, but he's also the defensive coordinator, and uh, he wanted to focus on that too. But he does a great job helping me. We have a great staff that helps in the weight room, as I'm sure you do as well.
No,
You
I mean, coach, my head coach, who,
Oh yeah,
a great man, awesome man to work for, Brett Beard.
yeah. We all know Beard, man. He's a big weight room guy.
I mean, he
Coaches the
interned.
weight room.
I mean, you talk about, he doesn't like talking about himself ever, but a guy that played SEC football, made it to the league, who interned with the Titans, who's a wealth of knowledge in that department.
Mm-hmm.
And honor for me that in his 20-year career, I'm the first person he's given full autonomy to when it comes to the weight room, and that's a huge honor for me. And for me, it's, personally, constantly proving myself every day that
Absolutely.
you made the right decision. You made the right decision to allow me to do this, to help guide me through this. Because I mean, I've been doing this for going on 11 years, but to me, I mean, I'm still a young coach. I mean, I still have a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I,
You know,
it's a
kind of
constant daily learn. Like, let's go, let's go, let's go.
absolutely, dude. One thing I really like is the 40-minute drive that I get, from Lake Charles to Lake Arthur on the way there, where I can collect my thoughts and put it together for the day. And then uh, what's even better is that 40-minute drive home that I can not only decompress, but I can self-assess.
That
You
is
know,
the best thing because you and I, that's where we get most of our talking done.
oh yeah,
For anybody who's thinking about going into this, the best thing you can do is just talk. What are
God,
your
yeah, man.
because high school kids are high school kids. They're how are your kids over there versus my kids over here at the same time of the year?
Mhm.
And it's to constantly have that support group where you can talk to the people and that are doing the same thing all the time is just fantastic. But I feel the same way. The 40-minute drive to work, because I have the same amount of drive, gets me hyped up for the day.
Mhm.
Whether it's listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger talk motivationally, or whether it's turning on some System of the Down. But then coming home, it's decompress. I'm leaving work at work, or I try to, and it's time to switch to dad and husband.
Yeah.
Where, hey, when you're a former principal of mine when I was in high school, he's still involved in the school system, um, told me when you're there, be there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's something even now to this day that I kind of struggle with at times.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point to where I'm going to start missing stuff in my kids' lives if I
Absolutely.
don't take a break from work and if I don't, you know, be around for things. I'm a glutton for punishment, man. Uh,
Mhm.
I start 5-year-old T-ball here soon while in the middle of Powerton season,
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
being the president of the organization, while still being the strength coach for the whole school while spring ball starting for football. Like, here we go, 5-year-old
Well,
T-ball. Let's
Well,
get
what me and
after it,
Kirk
bro.
asked you the other night, you mad at yourself?
Yeah. Like, but that's the dad part.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of that, it's what's better than getting to coach our kids at a power to me? What's
I
better?
mean,
It's like Will's the start of Will's first attempt on deadlift. Man, I was choking back tears. I could barely make his calls. Because I was so happy and so proud. I'm about to start crying now. And I mean, he's coming up on meet 3 in April.
Yeah.
And I get it all the time. Hey, are you going to make him power lift? Are you going to make him play football? Hell no. I'm gonna make him do what makes him happy. Same thing for my daughter. She'll come out and she'll do push-ups with him, and she'll do squats, and she'll then turn around and do cartwheels, and then ride her bike down the driveway.
Yeah.
Then she'll come back. Let them be kids, man. Let them find what's happy for what makes them happy.
Yeah, and so I mean, just for the listeners out there that are listening, our kids are the exact same ages. Just his son is older, where my daughter's the older one, and then my son is younger, where his daughter's younger one. So the amount of similarities with our day-to-day lives is just we'd be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't do this podcast and just talk
absolutely.
About this. We'll talk about let's just talk about this then right now, since we're on the topic. How hard is it to balance being husband, being dad, being coach, being, because we didn't get into this business to make a ton of money. We didn't get into this business to, have all the riches and all the time in the world.
Man, it's incredibly hard. There's nothing easy about it, and I'd be lying to you if I told you that I didn't think, is there something else that I could be doing where, I could see my kids more, because that's all the time.
Yeah.
But what else would I do?
That's my thing, man. Like,
what else would I do?
What else am I going to do where I'm as excited? I wake up every day and I'm excited to go to work.
Excited.
But what else would I do where I'm that excited and have that much fun and truly still love it from the first day I got into it?
Absolutely. And I remember, speaking on the 40-minute ride, the 40-minute decompression ride on the way home, I remember Matt Viatar, who was the head football coach at McNeese when I got hired. He said, you better find a way to decompress on the way home, because when you walk through the door and your wife, and your kids and your dogs come running up to you and happy to see you, they didn't know y'all had a bad day at practice. They had no clue, and it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a high energy, aggressive coach. And there's one or two sides. It's low key. It's nice. It's level headed, and then the next side is wide open. So it's Jekyll and Hyde. And if I didn't have that ride home like that I have, we'd probably all be doing lunges in the driveway or something.
Yeah. I mean,
we'd be bear crawling the acre and a quarter I live on.
Right.
So, I mean, there's nothing easy, and I mean, is it incredibly hard to get home at 8:00, 8:30 some nights? Absolutely. A JV night where we're going from Lake Arthur to Basile, back to Lake Arthur, and then we're back at 9:00 at night. And I'm getting home at 10:30. And I got a great boss, Taurus Davis, who says just drive and go home. Like, well, I can't do that. I cannot leave y'all just to go home. I want to be with the troops. I want to be with my guys. I want to be with the other generals, and then I'll go home, because I have a job. That's how I was raised as a coach,
And you see, man, I guess, and I think this is great for us to talk about. I've changed my philosophy in the past 2 years. Our district for football is the same district as it is for all sports. And the schools we play in football, we're going to be 4 here soon. 4 of the 7 are in the parish I live in.
Yeah.
And I've changed the philosophy of that to, if we're playing a JV game or even a Friday night game or a Thursday night game in the parish I live in, my head coach gives me that opportunity to drive, and I've learned to take it.
Absolutely.
And it's the sole reason because I don't have to go back to the office that night and, as my wife likes to call it, sit around and bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Joe, I thought we weren't saying bad words.
Well,
It's gonna happen.
I didn't say it. Ryan said it.
I know.
So, and some of those conversations, I mean, that you work in the office, as much as we deny it, some of those conversations last an hour and a half.
Hours.
Yeah.
Hours.
So I've learned to those conversations will still be there the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go home and maybe I might be able to say goodnight.
Yeah.
Because there's some days you wake up or the kids wake up, dad's not there. The kids go to sleep, dad's not there.
Which is painful. That's painful.
And it is, look, for everyone listening, this isn't a soapbox. It's just the reality of what this is, a little insight into kind of the lives that we live.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to talk about this because this is something that we struggle with too. My wife's in education as well. She's a school nurse at the local school in our district. And how do y'all find time to be mom and dad? Not so much mom and dad, but husband and wife. How do y'all find time to?
You have to force it, man. You have to force to make time.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do y'all do?
Our kids, and just like you, are still young. Something I wish something that I want to start doing next season is Thursday nights going to eat. Whether it's just us two or whether it's all of us. It doesn't have to be, a coach in our staff, him and his wife do that. He doesn't have kids right now, but envious of it because they pick a different place every Thursday. They go eat. I believe they watch a different movie. And to me, like, that little bit of downtime you do have should be spent doing that.
Yeah.
Something we did start this past season, football season, and into the springtime is in our house, we do a No Technology Wednesday.
Wow, I love it.
And I know you've tried to get a hold of me some of those times, but we're in the middle of it. But No Technology Wednesday, the phone goes on Do Not Disturb. The devices go up, the TVs go off. We might play a board game. We might read books. We might go outside, play basketball, go out back and start a fire, hang out, jump on the trampoline, do different things. And that's something we started doing that, it's easy to get away from things in life that you start.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to keep those things going. So, but as far as the wife goes, helping, I mean, I'm not afraid to do dishes. I'm not afraid to, help clean up. I send my wife, her best friend lives in New Orleans, which is about 45 minutes from us, 35, 45. I send her there sometimes, like, look, go hang out. I got the kids, or take the kids. Her best friend, who our kids call Aunt Linda, has a son a little bit younger than my youngest, and take the kids or leave the kids, or I got them, or because in this business we're away a lot.
Yeah.
Mom has to be mom and dad for a lot of the time, and so being able to provide that, and maybe while she's gone, I clean the house, or I do dishes, or I, whatever it is, do whatever I can do to help. I'm not the best at washing clothes. I tend to, but that was one of the first things she told me when I got married is all my clothes were warped because I dry things that aren't supposed to be dried. But as a single guy, it was, if it's messed up, I'll buy a new one. And I think we lost Alan here. Oh, you back? I think we lost him. Either way. So some of that is kind of what we do and how we do it. While I'm waiting on him to try and get back on, let's see if he texted me. Powering up my laptop. Okay, so he's kind of out right now while I'm waiting on him to come back. We really want to keep this about an hour long. We have about 20 or so minutes left on our hour limit. For anybody listening on Instagram, is there any questions you have so far? Is there any comments you want to see? Some comments being done. My wife, my mom, my sister specifically. But is there anything that you got questions about? Anything you want to ask? That's kind of something we want to do for the last 20 or so minutes is to get questions and respond. And this is something that we feel is pretty open and pretty fun to do. Oh, look who's back.
Got it. Man, it died.
I'm talking away, unprepared.
Y'all, I'm sorry.
Unprepared. I'm like just talking away. Here we go. My laptop's plugged in the whole time.
Yeah, I thought I had enough battery. So unprepared at that point.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I can only imagine what was being said on the other side of that screen.
Yeah. Ooh, it was great. We're friends again. Sorry about that.
I was just asking everyone, while we kind of had a little bit of downtime. All right. These are two good ones right here. I asked if anybody. I asked. Okay, so 3 questions. One from my wife. Patrick's question is, can he have the straw cup? No, Patrick, no straw cups. Before we get to one of my dear friends and coworkers, Johnny Lombardi, let's answer a simpler question real quick from actually my mom. What age is too young to start lifting? I know you and I talk about this a lot. I know that with Annalise, I started out with body weight, isometric stuff, functional movements. We moved on to PVC pipe. We moved on to lightweight bar. We moved on to big bar. I personally, 7, 8 years old, I'm okay with. As far as the functional stuff, the lightweight, we're not maxing every day.
No.
This is only going to get you better at every sport. It's not this is going to hurt you. This is going to stunt your growth. Those are myths. All those are myths. I saw Cody Hughes on Twitter one time talk about, and if those of you that don't know Cody Hughes is a strength coach in Alabama, talk about, would you try and run a car without gasoline?
Yeah.
If you wouldn't do that, why would you try and run an athlete without lifting and getting their body prepared to play sport?
Yeah. For so long, that's just such a myth. I mean, if you're doing it the right way, we said when we started this podcast, we don't want to get too scientific and too technical, but I mean, we could talk research a little bit. The research now is saying that it's actually aiding in growth development, and there's just such a small percent of premature ossification, which is growth plate closure. Early growth plate closure. I started lifting weights when I was 12. But up until that point, I was in sports from 4 years old on. My son was 8 when he started lifting. He's actually grown 2 inches.
Yeah, Annalise was 8 when she started, and I don't want to embarrass my daughter here, but she's added body weight, but it's muscle.
Yeah,
I mean, she is a put together young woman, and she's very deceiving, very dense. She's almost right at 100 pounds, and she looks nothing like it. She still looks petite.
She's incredibly strong too.
Oh, I mean, she'll be world class if she stays with it. Yeah, and actually, 100%. she just got into youth wrestling. So
yeah.
To answer your question, Mom, personally, having kids run, play, jump, be outside, which a lot of kids don't do these days, from the ages of, 3, 4 to that 7, 8 range, and then they can start doing functional stuff, isometric stuff, building into that actual weight. That's, to me, that's perfect. And I know some that even start smaller at a younger age and still are fine.
I've seen 4 and 5-year-olds start. I mean, I personally wouldn't start my kid that early, but if you do, as long as it's, you're just teaching the proper patterns, then get hot, teach them, go. There's nothing wrong with being strong, and there's nothing wrong with a child being able to like functionally handle their own body weight. That's one of those things. I hate the word functional training and core training. Those are such overused buzzwords, but I mean, you can train their young cores to be strong and stable from an early age, and you can train their joints, and their their bodies to go through the proper functional patterns.
And to me, that's one of the most underutilized things, is teaching kids how to use their core throughout all activities.
Mm-hmm.
There's been years, and I'm talking specifically with powerlifting, there's been years that we don't do any core, because if you're not activating your core throughout your lifts, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a little bit of that. I do want to answer this question. Look, I'm going to give a little plug here, because this guy does phenomenal work. Teacher of the year from our school, Johnny Lombardi, runs DSTV. I know you've seen some of that, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some of this stuff they put out is phenomenal. I mean, it is phenomenal what he can get these kids to do with some of this media and how to do things. I mean, we did a small segment on the weight room in the summertime, and I get DMs all the time that people find the videos on YouTube and ask, how do we get it started in the weight room? How do we do this? How do we do that? Look, I'll be the first one to tell y'all, I'm not the most knowledgeable person you'll probably ever meet. I do what works for us, what works for my kids. My philosophy is I'm here to build an athlete, but he does great stuff with DSTV. He asked the question, talk about benefits and challenges of using tech and analytics in the high school weight room. I'll take this one first, if you don't mind. So it wasn't till this year that we got a little bit of technology in the weight room. We have some TVs that I stream our workouts through Google Slides to where I can access it anywhere. And I'll stream our workouts, and we have our workouts up there. I used to be here's a booklet for each kid. I used to be the right on the whiteboard, and I've turned into this. And at first I was real hesitant, but it's working out great so far for a little bit over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking about that tech, I think that it's great. Now, the advanced tech of like a Team Builder. Yeah, I think Team Builder is awesome. We had it for a year, but I think you have to have a lot more resources than just Team Builder. Mm-hmm. Like I tried the approach of here's your phone, it's on there, your workout. And not that it was difficult. The difficult part was getting the kids to not be on their phones, because again, in 2024, everybody wants to be on TikTok. Everybody wants to be on Snapchat. Everybody wants to be on this. So that was a difficult part in that. As far as analytics go, me personally, I'm kind of both sides on this, because not everybody who's strong in the weight room is going to be a great athlete. Not everybody who's a great athlete is going to be strong in the weight room.
Absolutely.
But it can tell you a little bit as far as, the science part of it. How much force are we producing? How much speed are we producing within our lifts? And that's, your velocity-based training, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people base their whole philosophy on velocity-based training. And so, there is a little bit of that. I think it has its place. I think it's a little more difficult when you don't have the resources at your school to do it, as much as you would love to. Basically the biggest thing that we have at Denham, this summer I was able to follow a YouTube video and create a KPI dashboard, so a key performance indicator dashboard.
Yeah, that thing was awesome. You made.
Yeah. So, I followed a video from Dave McDowell, someone I follow on Twitter, a performance coach in Canada and Ontario. Mm-hmm. and I was able to follow it. Took me about 2 days and 7 hours to do. But, we utilize it at our school, and, give all the credit to him. He the things that some people can do with Google is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, man. Google, Excel, all of that stuff, man. I just plugged him, but Luke Caralla, man, who's at Charlotte now, that guy was a wizard with Excel, and I in the 3-month internship I did at UL, I think I learned 3 years worth of Excel work, under him and Dylan Santula. That's at that's at the Angels of AAA. But yeah, man, I mean I don't see us ever affording, for guys that use the technology in the weight room. It's great. That's what y'all do. Awesome. I love it. But I don't know that I want to start using the VBT and the perches and that kind of stuff. Zach Evanish and even Coach Moffitt and Coach Yokesall talk about the coach's eye. I can see if the weight's moving fast, and I can see when the weight's moving slow, and we tell the kids, be aggressive and shake the weights at the top. That's where you're going to activate your nerves, and that's where your muscles are going to get stronger, because nerves move muscles.
So you and I both sat in the same conversation with Gary Frank, one of the best powerlifters.
Shut down the room at our clinic. Shut down the room at the clinic.
Everybody's talking about velocity-based training and this and that and using this, and Gary speaks up and goes, I can just see the weight and hear it.
That's it. You can hear the weights clanging on the bar.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully, Johnny, that answered a little bit of your question. Another question, and shout out to my cousin Patrick here, who
I like this one.
Great question here. With the cartilage in my knees have worn away pretty bad, would you stay away from squatting, do leg presses, deadlifting? I want to do my best to protect my knees best I can. So you want to start this one?
Absolutely, because I have 2 terrible knees. I still squat. It's just the depth that you go. I bench squat now. I don't squat below parallel, anymore, just because it's a little painful. It's not too bad. It's a 2 on a pain scale of 10, but I could feel it. That when I do, it's a body weight, and I'm demonstrating to my lifters as to where we are going on squat. Now there's movements that I stay away from. I don't go into a full lunge anymore. I still deadlift. I still RDL. I do leg presses. I do leg extensions. Joe, this. About 2.5 months ago, I had a laminectomy in my back. That's my 3rd spinal surgery ever. But I can't not lift weights. If I don't lift weights, then I'm going to be crazy. But I think that it's good for you. I just think it's the depth that you go and not doing what hurts, and staying away from that. As the older we get, the more we're going to focus on mobility, functionality, flexibility, and just continuing to move, because it maintains that bone density.
So one of my favorite things to do with our kids, because knee health, I mean, when you talk about the knee, it's one of the most intricate parts of your body. Knee, shoulder, that's where a lot of injuries happen. Mm-hmm. More so our female athletes in their ACLs have more than males. One of the best things I love to do with our athletes, as far as healthy knees and strengthened knee, banded TKEs, terminal knee extensions. Well, we do a ton of Spanish squats, and a lot of that's in our warm up. We'll do, TKEs. We'll do a lot of, like I said, Spanish squats. We'll do a lot of abductor work. We'll do a lot of half kneeling, knee extensions, and different things, but kind of building up that knee. It's the older we get, just in general, carrying around body weight does hurt knees. But I completely agree. Betsy's trying to rag on you on Instagram right here.
I'll see that, saying
you only squat 2 parallel so you can get depth in Texas.
Absolutely. Yeah, but my athletes won't get called.
Ouch.
So, that is an ouch.
Yeah. So look, we got about 4 minutes left, winding down this hour, went by real quick. Finishing it out, and I think this is important to say, and I think you can agree with this, as a strength coach, as a coach, period, having the support of your other coaches. One person that I did see join on here that I need to give a big shout out to is our head athletic trainer, someone I talk to every day. Bump, bruise, injury, hurt. I talk to that person every day. It's someone I lean on a lot. Actually, the head athletic trainer when I was in school at Denham, his son and I graduated together, but, kind of went from that to friend and colleague. But, I think that you would agree,
You better be best friends with the trainer.
Yep, one of the most important people on your campus: trainer, janitor,
cafeteria ladies.
Cafeteria ladies.
Yeah. There's some departments, man, that are way more important than a lot of people.
Yeah, I had an overcharge of $470 my first year at Denham that Betsy was not happy about at the end of the year. They took it right out of my paycheck. So, about 3 minutes left, finishing off this episode. Guys, we thank everybody for joining us. This is the first one. We're not the best at this. Hopefully, we're not the worst. We're going to get a lot better, a lot more creative. Have some guests on. Hopefully we'll have a guest next week. Typically, we will do this on Sunday evenings. But Super Bowl's tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We're in South Louisiana. Mardi Gras this week. Tomorrow I'll be at Toss Sunday down in New Orleans with the Mike Stant.
Maybe we can get the Kirk Laverne on next week.
Yeah.
The Eddie Bergeron.
Yeah. Monday I'll be in Mamu watching the chickens get chased.
Before we go, man, can we suggest topics? Absolutely.
At 100%. So
absolutely, that's what we want.
You want to drop the email? I'll drop the email. You want me to drop the email?
You go ahead, Joe.
I think it's going to be easiest to email questions or send questions to any of our social medias. But, I think that's huge topics because this is for everyone, y'all. I mean, this isn't for just strength coaches. It's not just for coaches. It is for wives, moms, siblings, the normal person who just wants to know about the weight room. Anyone can tune in and ask questions and suggest topics. I think the easiest way is going to be email us at beyondtherack2024@gmail.com. I think that's going to be the easiest way to kind of get a hold of us. Obviously, you can send us messages on our social medias. So
I got to give a shout out. I see Coach Corville from Wells High School, District Coach of the Year. Great weight room guy, man. Thanks for joining in, Coach Corville. Glad to have you.
Absolutely, man.
I see Bosco's on there.
Yep, see a lot of my athletes on there. Some parents.
My sister's on there all the way from Houston.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. So, well, guys, we got about a minute left. Thank y'all for joining. This is going to be an on-demand episode on YouTube and on Facebook. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see y'all next Sunday. What date is that, Alan? 18th. The 18th,
yeah. Be the 18th. 18th at what time, Joe?
7 p.m. It'll be at 7 p.m. typically. I think that's a great time. Wind down, finish off your weekend. So 7 p.m. on the 18th, we'll see everyone.
All right.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you, guys.